Welcome to Your Waifu Is Trash, the anime debate podcast. I'm your host. My name's Cody. I'm joined by my co-hosts
Blake
and Lance.
And today we will be discussing the best power system in anime. And let's start things off right. Let's go right into it because we got a lot to cover today. The first round of the competition will be Ki from Dragon Ball versus Branch of Sin from Dead Man Wonderland.
Okay, so I think we need to start kind of by explaining what some of these actual concepts are, because to a lot of people that haven't watched anime, everybody knows what Ki is.
I think that's pretty obvious. I mean, it's taken off of real world, like, inspirations. It's like it's like the physical energy and the spiritual energy that your body requires to, like, function. And you can use that and you can harness it and turn it into a weapon. Absolutely. And that's what Ki is in Dragon Ball.
Now, for those who don't know what Branch of Sin is from Dead Man Wonderland, and it's basically the power to manipulate your blood into different types of techniques. The main character, Ganta, uses it in think of it as a Yusuke spirit gun type situation, where he's just using blood bullets. But you can also do things like control other people, make wicked-ass scythes or swords, or even containers to capture somebody in.
Lance, you have other opinion on either of them?
As much as I like Dead Man Wonderland, its aesthetic is really cool. The Branch of Sin system is really not fleshed out at all. There are only a handful of named branches of sin, and how they work and their effects on the users aren't fully known. A lot of characters don't have a known branch of sin. And so the system itself is really just not fleshed out, and Dragon Ball is such a long-running series that Ki is really well fleshed out in that series.
I think it also helps that Ki is a rather simple concept to get across, and so you can do a lot more with that simple concept.
I agree.
You can manipulate it more.
Yeah, it's really more awkward to say some characters have the ability to manipulate their blood in completely different ways, and it's all the same power set.
Yeah, very much so.
Whereas everyone has Ki. That's just a thing in Dragon Ball universe. Everybody has Ki, you just have to learn how to tap into it and how to use it. And because of that reason, and of how amazing Dragon Ball is, in my opinion, I'm going to vote for Dragon Ball's Ki system in this first round.
Okay, well, one more thing on Branch of Sin that's really, really unfortunate. I am going to be voting for Ki, but another thing that's really unfortunate about Branch of Sin is because it is the user's blood. Of course, as you may believe, they can only use it to a certain extent, or else they just pass out or die.
Run out of blood.
Run out of blood and you die. That's how it works.
Got to go to the blood bank, get some more blood.
So a lot of people have to. It's got a strategic aspect to it. I've used this much blood already. I need to stop doing this. But at the same time, then if you go on a berserk rage where a lot of people in the Dead Man Wonderland universe probably would do, they're just straight up dead.
And I think Ki has that same aspect where if you use all of your Ki, you're out of the fight, and you're going to pass out. Some characters have passed out from using all their Ki.
Of course.
So
you had that moment.
Extra.
Yeah. You had that moment in the Tournament of Power where Master Roshi almost died because he'd used up so much of his power.
Yeah.
He just ran out of Ki.
That is true.
Mm-hmm.
But
so
Ki,
I don't think Dead Man Wonderland earns any extra points for that aspect, and I'm going to have to vote for Ki.
Yeah. All right. Ki sweeps the first match.
Pretty easily.
Second match, we have Devil Fruits from One Piece versus Quirks from My Hero Academia.
Oh, this is a really tough one. Okay.
Let's break it down for those people who don't know. Devil Fruits, there are three kinds of Devil Fruits. There are Logia, Zone, and Paramecia. Logia allows the user to control and turn their bodies into a certain element. So you have the Yami Yami no Mi, which lets you control darkness and turn your body into darkness and just lets people, and then you have the light fruit, because I don't know all the Japanese names, and it lets you turn into light, or the snow fruit lets you turn into snow. And then you have the zone fruits, which will have the human fruit, which is what Chopper eats, and he lets him turn into a human, and it comes in different forms, but it's usually animal-based transformations is how that works. And then you have Paramecia, which is just all the rest of the powers. You have everything from being able to make barriers to turning your entire body and physiology into rubber.
Yeah.
The only thing that all the devil fruits have in common is that they're weak to water.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. They actually
specifically salt water.
Specifically salt water, and they seize up when in salt water. They can't swim. They sink. They seize up.
They die.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have on the other end of this bracket or this match quirks, which quirks, as far as we know, can literally be like anything.
Mm-hmm.
It can be as useless as like, say, your fingernails automatically like cut themselves when they get too long, or they could go all the way to, say, Todoroki's quirk, where he can shoot ice and fire out of his body at will.
Quirk's a lottery system, though, really, if you think about it. They go into that a little bit at the beginning of the series, before Deku gets all for all. Because you can be born quirkless, or you can be born with a shit quirk, and it doesn't matter if you want to be a hero. If you have a shit quirk, it's probably not going to work.
Exactly.
If your toenails trim themselves, you're not going to be the greatest hero in the universe, unless you're all jeans.
Yeah, best genius. Yeah,
all pants. He's pretty good.
It also has kind of a genetic aspect to it.
Mm-hmm.
Some quirks can be passed genetically, and we're not sure which ones or how that works out. So there's a lottery genetic aspect to quirks, and there's you found a random fruit aspect to Devil's Fruit.
Yeah, for sure. But there is like a Devil Fruit encyclopedia in One Piece that is like kept up on, and so like people know and record Devil Fruit usage for like hundreds of years, and they've kept that record. Whereas quirks, more of like a random aspect. You have to learn what your quirk is. Like sometimes you think, oh, I can shoot water from my hands. No, actually, you can turn the air molecules around you into water. That's your power. It's not you actually shoot water. And so like it's different. But you'll never know until you actually like practice and you get to know with your quirk.
Of course.
Or at the same time, your quirk could be, oh, my dick is a cactus, and then like,
That's not a good quirk. The one thing that kind of gets the randomness about devil fruits is, as Lance said, you literally have to go out and find said fruit. Now, it's never been really like explained whether that's easy or not, because Luffy found his in like a bunch of treasure from a pirate raid, if I'm correct. And like he didn't even know what it was. He was just like, I'm gonna eat this fruit. Oh, now I can't swim. Oh, I'm overpowered. Yay me. But there's so many more layers to it as well, because at first you were like, with Luffy, okay, his body is rubber. That's fine. He can do punches and stuff. His arms can go all wiggly arm man sort of crap. Mm-hmm. But then you get into his Gear 2, his Gear 3, Gear 4, and you find out there's so many more possibilities. Like Gear 4, I believe
because his body is rubber.
Yeah, but like you have to think about it in like so many different ways. Like your body is literally rubber. You can do anything. Like didn't you say, I believe to me, that Gear 4 is him putting air into his muscles?
His muscles and his bones.
And his bones? Like, that's insane.
To inflate them, and that's why he keeps bouncing. That's why he's so bouncy. Because he uses his internal organs and his bodily structure to act as a spring for like a piston to like power his like attacks.
I feel like there's more versatility when it comes to devil fruits to that of like somebody's quirk that's just like, this is your quirk, this is how you use it, deal with it.
There's a lot of quirks that are unexplored in My Hero Academia too.
Very true.
I think there's a lot of room for growth there.
I think that Devil's Fruit ended up being more thematic, because the history behind quirks is literally one day there were quirks. And
that's true.
So Devil's Fruit kind of gets a bigger story aspect. Even if it's not fully explored, it still has that possibility, whereas quirks are just like mutants from X-Men. It happens.
It just happened. Yeah, it just happened. You're a mutant. Good job. Only it's now to the point where if you're not a mutant, you're the mutant.
Exactly.
Yeah. Congratulations, your dick's a cactus, you're a normal person.
Yes, exactly.
These things happen.
And then, like, even in One Piece, you have people like, who was the name of that doctor that researched devil fruits?
Oh, yeah, I know. The one with Chopper?
No.
Different one?
No, that was a completely different kind of doctor.
Okay. I don't know. I haven't watched One Piece in years.
One of them is a PhD doctor, and the other one is a heal your bones doctor.
Yes, the PhD doctor that Punk Hazard. Oh. Punk Hazard goes around and he researches devil fruits and how they work, and he's a scientist that like scientifically engineers artificial devil fruits.
Okay.
And he uses that through the Doflamingo family and things like that. And so that's like super cool.
Artificial devil fruits.
Artificial devil fruits,
That sounds
yeah.
a lot like you could kind of, in some sort of way, compare that to All for One.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, that was Kaido's big goal, was to create an entire crew of Zone devil fruit users.
Okay.
Or even more closely, the Nomu, or artificial corpse.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the Nomu, yeah. This is hard for me. This is really hard for me. I think we should go to the votes, though.
Yes. I am going to start out. Although I love My Hero, because of the story themes that devil fruits have and just the versatility with them, I'm going devil fruits.
This is rough. As much as I really do like My Hero Academia, I think One Piece has the privilege of being such a long series that it can explore a lot of things, and Devil Fruit is just a much more defined power than Quirks at this moment. So I'm going to give it to Devil Fruit.
Okay. I think I was leaning more towards Quirks, personally, just because they don't have the inherent weaknesses, and I think there's more opportunity there for growth, and I think has a lot of future potential.
Agreed.
So Devil Fruits moves on to the next round. Next match we have Stands from JoJo versus the Momoto powers from Zatch Bell.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you
I
really...
hate you for doing this to me.
That's actually, I can understand why you put those two together.
They're similar.
They are similar.
They're similar in that no one has any idea how or why they work.
Listen, but Stands, though. Like, okay, I'm going to break down some Stands real quick. There's a guy who can turn you into a book, but only if you answer a yes or no question in an answer other than yes or no.
Okay.
That's his power.
Nice.
Then you have people like... it's just crazy, because any of these... They're so specific, and it just makes it seem so just perfect as like a power.
For the viewers out there who don't know what a stand is, could you describe exactly what a stand is?
Okay, so you have a macho manly man who's going in to fight someone, but instead of using his fists like some idiot who would use their fists, he uses his magical girl transformation powers to summon a sexy man from his dreams, and then they fight each other. But they can only be damaged by other sexy men from other people's dreams.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Okay, but there are some stands that don't make sense even within the JoJo universe.
Like the one that turns you into a book.
No, that one makes
like
perfect
the
sense.
One where an entire street is a stand user.
Yes.
And anyone who knows how to use the stand on that street can just do it.
Yes.
Okay. That literally makes no sense.
There's a dog who's a stand user who becomes a main character.
I just saw a video that was talking about a baby that was a stand user.
Yes.
I know that there was a stand that it was an entire cruise ship type thing.
There's a colony of plankton that's a stand user.
Perfect.
But that's what makes it so great.
One of them is a tree. Just a tree is a stand user.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Okay, this makes perfect sense, yeah. Meanwhile, on the other end of the fight, you have Momotos, which, if you don't know what Zatch Bell is, what are you doing with your life?
I mean, it's not that popular anymore. There was a
Living
moment.
A perfectly normal life is what
classic.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you're living a perfectly
I'm
normal
calling
life.
it a classic, I'm sorry.
Hey, it's not a classic.
Zatch Bell was a classic to me.
It aired on TV in like 2004. And
What's the shit?
It's you get a tiny little puppet person, and you use a book that comes with the puppet person, kind of like an instruction manual, and you fight other puppet people to find out who has the best puppet.
Except the instruction manual is in a language that you can't read, and you have to slowly learn how to translate it.
Yes.
And all of your puppets' powers are shit.
Yes.
But the king of puppets, though.
You can become the puppet Hokage.
Exactly.
If you beat all the other
puppet can
puppets.
become the puppet king.
Yes, you can.
You get nothing.
You get nothing. Your puppet becomes the puppet Hokage and gets the puppet piece.
And if your puppet dies, you just get the emotional tragedy.
Yeah.
That actually can talk and have an emotional bond with you.
Uh-huh. Or be a horse.
That too.
Could just be a horse.
So votes. How about
Well, I'm gonna vote for stand powers because JoJo's is a gift to the world.
Screw it, I'm voting for Momotos.
You're voting for Momoto powers?
I'm gonna go for the 0.5% chance that there's a sweep and I knock you off your high horse. It won't happen, but who knows?
As much as stands are ridiculous and make no sense, Mamoto powers are equally ridiculous and have no stakes. So I'm gonna go with stands just because they can at least be cool.
Darn it! I was
They can
so
be
close.
very cool.
So close.
And sometimes you're a dog and can still use stands.
But horse.
There's one guy that uses stands, not himself, but the technique he uses to throw orbs, these little metal orbs, is a stand.
Yes.
Okay.
But he is not. He does not have a stand.
Okay, that's perfect. Awesome.
Okay.
No, the orbs have a stand.
Yes. The next round we have Geass, the Geass system from Code Geass, the special eye powers, versus Devil powers from High School DxD.
Okay, so Geass is kind of really hard. This is a hard fight. This entire bracket is a hard fight for Geass. Because with Geass, you only see it, I believe, 2 to 3 times in the entire series. And basically, Geass, for those that don't know, is a power that is gifted to you by basically an immortal being. The 3 types that are shown are, one is the ability to read minds. Another one is the ability to wipe away memories and change memories into whatever the hell you want. So if I looked at Cody and I was like, you now think that your entire childhood you were a starving African boy.
I was.
He would think that.
I was in fact a starving African child.
And the third power is the power of the king, which the main character Lelouch has, and it is the ability to command anybody to do whatever you want. However, you can only command them to do it once. So you could go up to a rich CEO, look them in the eye, and be like, you will give me your entire fortune, and they will just do it. And then they lose all memories of that specific event, and then when they wake up, they're penniless, and you are the king.
There are a few more Geass powers. Rolo can stop time, but he doesn't really stop time. He stops your perception of time.
I forgot about that one.
Bismarck can predict your movements in a way that makes it seem like he's predicting the future.
That is the truth.
Mm-hmm. He has the Sharingan.
He has the Sharingan.
All of the Geass powers affect either your mind or your perceptions. They're all entirely mental.
Which is one of the reasons I think they're really cool.
I absolutely love Code Geass, so
No, we all do. This is a pro Code Geass.
Yeah, Geass is
podcast.
Insane, and I wish I had it, and it's amazing. Plus, they added Sharingan, so 1 up. What was the other part?
Devil powers.
Devil powers
from High School DxD. We got boob powers.
No, we've
You're not wrong.
I don't even know how to really explain.
It's titty powers.
I can't explain devil
Basically,
powers from there.
if you are, is it sponsored by a devil?
Yeah.
You are granted powers, and then based on your drives and desires, you get more power. Based on let's say, for example, Issei's is tits. It's tits. That's his thing. He likes tits. He's powered by tits. He's tit powered. He's got tits on the brain. But let's say your drive and ambition was tacos. Then you'd be powered by tacos.
Wow, I want these towers because I would be the most powerful.
And it basically works off of your power of drive and ambition, if I'm getting this right.
Okay.
It's pretty obscure as far as actually what they go into explaining it. But
there's a little more detail. Demon has a chessboard, basically. They have a side of the chessboard, and they can anoint you a pawn, a rook, a bishop, or a knight. And whatever your anointed level is your power level. And then your power that you get is related to your ambition.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of working for your demon with whatever power you have at whatever rank they gave you. But it pretty much can do anything at that point.
Yeah.
Exactly. Especially if your power is based off of your ambition. So, say your
Nobunaga would be a great devil power person.
Honestly, that's true. I was going to say, what if, say, you were Cody, back when the Cubs won the World Series and his ambition was the Cubs.
Just rub it in everyone's faces?
Yeah, rub it in everyone's faces.
That wouldn't go very far. It didn't last that long.
This matchup for me is really cut and dry because on the one hand you have Code Geass and its main character Lelouch, who has really stated drives and goals and morals. And then you have devil powers. And the main character is fueled by his love for tits. So...
I mean, to be
Let's
fair,
go to votes.
To be fair, Lelouch would make a good devil power user, I feel like. Because he has that
He has a
ambition.
lot of ambition. So I could see that
I
for
mean,
sure.
he is the epitome of ambition.
He is. I vote for Gios powers.
Agreed, voting for Gios.
Agreed, voting for Gios.
And it's a sweep.
I actually thought that was going to be a bit harder, but then you paired it with that. So, okay.
Yeah. All right, so in the next round, we have Alchemy from Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood versus Soul Resonance from Soul Eater.
Ooh, you did this just to taunt me, didn't you?
I did.
Okay.
So Alchemy is a perfect system.
Alchemy is a perfect system.
It is if not perfect, very close to perfect. It's equivalent exchange. It's if someone else wants to explain a little bit better than I can.
Basically, you take, you give, and then you can take from. Well, actually, I can't explain. Equivalent exchange is like a law of science. Even in the real world, you can't get something without giving away something of equal or greater value.
Law of conservation of matter.
Yeah, exactly. But
yeah,
Lance, you explain.
Equivalent exchange is essentially you can only get out what you put in. So
exactly.
you can turn water into ice as they're the same thing, but you can't turn, sand into gold. They're not equivalent. And you can start doing weird things by moving electrons, like you can turn a lot of lead into a lesser amount of gold by moving around electrons, but you still have to have an equal equation at the end of the casting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's magic science.
So I know what I wanted to say about this. So alchemy, the concept is like really awesome, but Full Metal Alchemist takes it to a different level.
Mm-hmm.
At least with how it is used, because they take it into the ability of using it as a weapon, and you have many different ways of doing this. And the biggest thing about alchemy is you always have to have a circle. You always have to have that transmutation circle, and there are many ways of achieving it. One of which is carving it onto the back of your hand. Another is making an alchemy circle out of I believe like 5 different countries that nobody can really detect. And then once it's made, you're just like, okay, I can now do alchemy with 5 different countries. Have fun with that.
Spoiler alert.
So yeah, super spoiler alert. This podcast is not for the weak of heart.
Oh, of course. But then they have a way around it with when you think about Edward, because they unlock the Gate of Truth basically. And when you see the Gate of Truth, this is more like a mystic type thing, but they literally just have to clap their hands together because they basically become the circle. And as long as they clap their hands together, they can do whatever the heck they want.
Within the law.
Yeah, still fit.
But still within the laws of.
I don't know why I lost
alchemy.
my
That's okay.
words
I'll take
there,
over.
But...
For one, if you're watching this podcast instead of watching Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, what's wrong with you? Just an honest question. So I'm not worried. So I'm not worried about spoilers here, because you could spend your time better.
Yeah.
By watching FMA. Soul Resonance from Soul Eater. This isn't something I'm super used to. I only watched Soul Eater once, and it was a long time ago.
So
I can describe it really well.
Go ahead.
In Soul Eater, there are 2 types of people. There are more than that, but in the combat, there are 2 types of people. Meisters are humans, generally, who wield weapons, and weapons are a physical weapon that has a projection soul. So it's a person that is also physically a weapon. And soul resonance is the ability of a Meister's soul and a weapon's soul to be on the same wavelength, so that they can share their energy and combine their power to be a more effective combat unit.
Okay. I don't really know if you can put it any better than that.
No, that was a really good explanation. Soul Resonance is really cool. It's neat. It's got some really awesome moments. It doesn't hold up against Alchemy,
I don't think
in
it
my
holds
opinion.
It is really cool though. Like,
it's really
give
it's
due,
awesome. It's one of the 5 different ways that soul is used on this list. Because soul power seems to be a running thing.
Of course.
But my vote goes for Alchemy.
I think it's pretty easy to see that my vote will also be for alchemy.
I really like how thematic soul resonance is for the characters, but as a magic system, alchemy is pretty well compact in that it's almost perfect. I have to vote for alchemy.
All right. Moving on to the next round, we have a matchup with a lot of soul. We have Reiki from Yu Yu Hakusho versus Reishi from Bleach.
Okay. So this is literally...
It's both soul pressure.
It's soul pressure.
It's literally what both of them are called, just translated slightly differently.
They both are basically like the same concept to an extent. So it's more about... This battle, I feel like, is more about how they're used.
I would agree. So, Blake, you want to break down Bleach for us? On how they used soul pressure?
I mean, I guess I can. I'll see how I can do it. So, spiritual pressure, as they call it, is basically... I would basically call it like a mechanism that they use to block specific type of sword strikes, because it is a sword fighting anime. Mm-hmm. That's how you can boil down.
Well, your
Bleach.
Spiritual pressure is compacted into your Zanpakuto.
Well, there's many different uses. First off, it is the physical manifestation of your Zanpakuto. So you know how Ichigo has his giant sword. Mm-hmm. That's because he has a shit ton of spiritual pressure and he cannot control it.
Yeah.
Because he can't control it, and he's a protagonist, so plot armor.
Exactly.
But the thing is about spiritual pressure is you can also have such a high spiritual pressure, like Kenpachi Zaraki, where you can't cut him with that sort of sword because his spiritual pressure is so high that it is literally blocking the sword point from actually cutting him. And once you learn to control it, it can be used as a shield. You can also put more power into your Zanpakuto to do moves like the Getsuga Tensho, and you can also learn how to master stuff like Bankai using your spiritual pressure. But that's basically all they really have about it. It's really more fleshed out in the beginning of the series, when, like, say, again, when Ichigo is fighting Kenpachi, he's always like, you need to start controlling your spiritual pressure better, you need to raise it so I can't hit you and you can hit me. But then when it gets to, like, the second half of, like, Bleach, where it gets closer to Aizen and stuff, spiritual pressure doesn't mean shit.
Well, nothing means anything at that point.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, okay, we will never talk about this again.
Going into... one question I have about Bleach is, does everyone have spiritual pressure? Is that only a...
Everybody has spiritual pressure. However, it can be extremely low to the point where, like, you're just going to be a wandering spirit whenever you die. To the point of being a soul reaper.
Yeah, but it's something anyone can tap into.
Yes, anybody can actually
That's something that I wasn't quite... I was still a little fuzzy on.
Yes.
I was never super into Bleach because of all the plot holes and the ass holes.
Agreed. I understand.
Something I was a lot more into is Yu Yu Hakusho.
Yes.
And I pulled up a article to help me synthesize
it has
my
been
thoughts.
a while.
Adjust your science classes, ladies and gentlemen.
Spirit energy, known as Reiki or Aura in the Viz manga, is energy possessed by all humans. It is very powerful if used correctly and can be wielded by any spiritually aware human. However, the strength of the energy varies between persons. It's unique from person to person, much in the same way fingerprints and voice prints. That's weird. I'm going to stop reading word for word now. It can be converted into weapons. It can be used to enhance the body. It can be used to heal. One of the main things that you see it used for is Yusuke, our main character, condenses his spirit energy into a single point and then fires it like a laser in his spirit gun. You also have Kuwabara, who uses it to turn it into a flaming sword. And it's...
Very good.
It's great. It's usually blue in color, in case you needed to know that.
What I will say is, along with the... Because you kind of remind this by even reading this, but in Bleach also, you don't just have the swords and stuff, you have things they call Kido and Hado, and that also uses spiritual pressure, and it can do anything from bind you to heal you to basically anything, to even doing like a spirit gun type operation. I'm sure that they have
one thing that is different is that while spirit pressure is something that has to be trained, right? You have to train in that. Spirit energy, the main thing is to know their feeling to control their strength. Because spiritual energy is directly connected to the emotions of the person using it. You can get power boosts from anger and stronger emotions like that, but at the same time, Keeping a level head is also very good for spiritual energy, because being intact with your own emotions and being able to use those to your advantage leads to advantages in combat and in spiritual strength. But it can be used in literally any way. I mean, you have all kinds of stuff.
Exactly.
To relate both of these things to Dragon Ball, because you can relate everything to Dragon Ball, Reiki is almost more like Ki in that it's a finite resource you have.
Yeah.
Whereas Reishi from Bleach is almost more like your power level. Your spiritual pressure in Bleach is like a measure of how much power you have, and it's kind of a constant thing that you can shape. Whereas Reiki in Yu Yu Hakusho is more of the amount of energy you have available to you. So they share a name, but their purpose is kind of different.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas when you're training your Reiki, it's usually you train to get more, like a bigger pool of energy so you can do bigger attacks.
Yeah.
Whereas with spiritual pressure, you're trying to get stronger so your attacks that you've been doing do more damage.
Exactly.
And I think, personally, that being able to widen your pool as you grow stronger without having 40 different forms does make Reiki better used, in my opinion.
I think that consistently, the rules of Reiki are better enforced across Yu Yu Hakusho as a whole, because Bleach pretty much drops spiritual pressure as a real important plot point after season 1, maybe season 2.
Definitely.
Yeah, after the Soul Society arc, it pretty much drops off.
Yeah, basically.
Whereas even after the demon forms happen, they just get new types of energy.
Yeah.
Like you go from just having Reiki to having life energy and demon energy and sacred energy, and you just add different pools, which you draw from different pools to do different things.
Yeah.
But Reiki is the overall embodiment of that.
Basically, from what you're saying, they always go, they can always get stronger, and they can always improve their types of energy usage and stuff like that. The thing is with Bleach, basically, if you get Bankai, okay, you're good. You don't need to worry about getting stronger or any of that stuff, or you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, you don't
spiritual
need to worry
pressure
about
becomes irrelevant.
getting new techniques or working on your spiritual pressure.
You have Bankai,
you have your Bankai
you're good.
now. That's what you have.
Yeah. GG, mate. Okay, well, I think with that, we should move on to votes.
Well, I vote for Reiki from Yu Yu Hakusho.
I think the first 2 seasons of Bleach are really great, and Reishi is used pretty well there. But for the series as a whole, I think that Reiki is better used in its series.
Agreed, so I'm going to vote for Reiki as well.
That made me feel good.
Ripping apart Bleach.
Speaking of things that make me feel good, this next one should be fun. It's Nen from Hunter x Hunter versus Chakra from Naruto. Alright, so Nen as a system is, there are many types of Nen. But Nen as a system is basically, once again, it's basically spiritual energy. So is Chakra. It's basically your spiritual energy. It's inherent in all beings. You just need to learn how to use it. But the thing about Nen is it's controlled. And so you need to pass the Hunter exam to be able to know how to learn how to use your Nen. But each person's Nen is unique. And the way you strengthen your Nen is by creating restrictions for yourself. So an example would be, if you want a very powerful Nen, only being able to use it against one specific person is going to make that so much more powerful. That specific technique so much more powerful than if you had it just, this is just a technique. It's just, I can only use it on Wednesday nights between 7 and 8 p.m. That's a very specific restriction.
Yeah.
And it's a way to power up yourself and your techniques by also taking away flexibility out of yourself. So you can either be flexible or stupid powerful, but it's really hard to be both. You can't be immortal god level Nen user at all times against all opponents. It just doesn't happen. And then you can take weird Nen techniques like Hisoka, who just basically uses jelly strings, and that's his Nen power. He uses jelly strings, and he's one of the most powerful and intimidating enemies to Gon and Hisoka, especially in Gon and Killua, especially in the beginning of the series. And he just uses gummy strings.
Okay.
Do you mean strings of gummy candy?
Yeah. Like gummy strings. It's like gummy, weird, stringy stuff.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like the texture of like Jello.
Like,
Type.
yeah, think of like a sticky hand.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
That's what he uses.
Okay. Meanwhile,
And rape face.
yeah, I've heard
Because
about
Isekai
that.
is a creeper, but that's a different discussion.
That's a topic
that we
for
already
another
that we
story.
already had.
Meanwhile, we have chakra, which chakra, everybody has chakra. You just need to learn how to use chakra, and it can be used for. Of course, you have your normal jutsus. You can make clones and stuff. You can walk on trees, walk on water. But the possibilities with chakra are nearly limitless, as long as you have the pool of chakra for it. And I'm not entirely sure if you can actually increase your pool of chakra. I believe whatever you have is what you have.
Unless you go into the 4th Great Ninja War.
Yeah.
And then it like quadruples.
Yeah, then you have unlimited chakra and you're good.
You can train it slightly because, like, if you take Kakashi's chakra pool into extent, in the beginning of the series, he could use Chidori or Lightning Blade 3 times a day. Is that what he had?
That is true.
And then at the end of, and then towards Shippuden, he could use it 6 times a day at the beginning of Shippuden.
And then he can use it whenever the fuck he wants.
And then by the 4th Great Ninja War, he can use it infinity of times per minute.
Yeah.
So
The way I understand training chakra is that you don't so much increase your chakra pool as you gain more specific control over how much chakra each different jutsu you use takes out of you.
yeah, because you have
you can use a jutsu with more chakra than you need. So a lot of young ninjas put way more chakra than they need to get the effect they're getting. And so you train your control of chakra more than your pool of it.
Yeah, and that's something I really kind of wanted to focus on when I talked about chakra, is that it's not just, like, if you really look at it from, like, say from Naruto's standpoint, like, you look at the 4th Great Ninja War and everything, and you just see him, like, pulling out all these Rasen Shurikens, all these giant Rasengans and stuff, but you never really think about back in the old days when he was trying to, like, develop these techniques, the amount of precision and control that you actually need to actually even create these techniques in the first place is what's the most impressive thing. And just knowing that he can do it over and over and over again just shows how much skill that he has over his control now. Meanwhile, with Nen, I feel like it just has too many restrictions, but that's the entire case of Nen. So.
I'm gonna break this down for you a little bit. Because I know Blake hasn't seen Hunter x Hunter. I don't know.
Still working on that.
Lance, have you seen Hunter x Hunter as of yet?
I've seen bits and pieces of it. I've never done a full
Okay.
watch.
I'm going to break down Nen. And there are 4 types of Nen. Well, 4 techniques. There's Ten, which is a technique that allows the Nen user to contain aura by enfolding their body with it. So basically, it's like they create an aura of Nen.
Okay.
And that's Ten. That's what that technique is. It does slowly leak away over time, but making the aura stay around the body is called Ten. This is the most basic technique. Basically, it allows you to be able to not get hit by things that don't have Nen.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. It acts like almost like a shield, and also like strengthens your punches and things like that. The next one is Zetsu, which completely stops the flow of Nen in your body, which allows you to go undetected by other Nen users. But is very dangerous because it also lowers your body's natural 10 defenses, which makes you more susceptible to a Nen attack.
Okay.
Then you have Ren. Ren involves... It basically, you improve the aura formed by using 10. The user expands their aura nodes and generates more aura than normal, while keeping it from flowing away. It allows the user to produce an unusual amounts of aura, and it can be compared to basic physical exercise, but it's like exercising your Nen. So Ren is like souping up that specific part of your body.
Yeah.
Like if you're shaking all of your energy and you're like Ren and you send it to your fist, and then like your fist gets a bunch of power.
Like Deku with his all for one sometimes.
Kinda. One for all, but kinda.
Why do I keep saying all for one?
I have no idea. And then Hatsu is release. And the thing that's different on every Nen user is their Hatsu. That's what's unique to each Nen user. Like, and it's usually has a lot to do with their personality and a lot to do with just how they work as a person. Gon's is rock, paper, scissors. That's his Hatsu.
Okay.
He has 3 techniques. Rock is a punch. Paper is a energy blast, and scissors is a cutting attack. And that's the most simple way to do it. And then you can set restrictions for yourself after that as you go down.
Okay.
Now,
and
does one shape or choose their Hatsu, or is it like inherent within whoever you are?
A little bit of both. It's mostly inherent as to who you are as a person. Who you are as a person defines what your Hatsu is, more than you choosing it, but it would probably be the thing you would choose.
Okay.
Like, it's what inherently makes you you, is part of, like, what your Hatsu is. But the way you get more powerful Nen techniques is you combine the different kinds of Nen. If you combine Ren with Zetsu, you can shut off all the Nen in every other part of your body except the part that you're Renning. And so you can channel all of your aura into one punch.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
But it completely negates the defenses in the rest of your body, so it's very dangerous to combine those two.
Okay.
Whereas combining Nen and Ren lets you keep an offense with a defense.
So, like, Sticky String Guy.
Mm-hmm. It's called Bungee Gum.
He didn't choose that, but if he got to choose, he would.
Yeah.
That's
that
surprising
kind of
that it's that.
Because he's
not,
gross. Huh?
It's surprising that it's like gummy or whatever.
Bungee Gum.
It's funny that it's that, and it's somehow not little boys.
He's really creepy.
Yeah. Okay.
That joke makes sense.
Yeah, no, basically Hatsu is divided into 6 categories. You have conjuration, emission, enhancement, manipulation, transmutation, and specialization.
Those sound pretty easy to comprehend.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you specialize in one specific kind of Hatsu, so if you are a specialist, then you have 100% affiliation with specialist Nen and with Hatsu, and then you have 60% with manipulator and conjurer, 20% with emitter and transmuter, and then you can't use enhancer Nen.
Okay.
Okay, so they have forbidden schools.
Basically, yeah, and it just works like that. The only thing is, you can't use specialist unless you are a specialist.
Right, you don't choose which school you're using.
No, but like, if you're a transmuter, you get 60% with conjurer and enhancer, but you get none with specialist.
Okay. Oh, so you're saying like you can be a specialist and you can use specialist stuff.
No,
but
specialist
if you're
is
not,
one of the 6 schools, but if you're not a specialist, you cannot use specialist magic.
Exactly.
It's like being a necromancer almost. It's like kind of like a forbidden school if you're not in it. It's for like specific, special kinds of Hatsu release.
Yeah. It's like an elitist.
It's like an other category.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Gon is enhancement. So his thing is with enhancement. That's why he uses his rock, paper, scissors. Rock enhances his punch. Scissors enhances his chop. And paper lets him shoot an energy blast. So it works really well for him. It's basic, but he can enhance it, and he can enhance his muscular structure and all that by using his Hatsu.
Okay.
This is really kind of tough. I like chakra up to the point where it matters, but from what I've seen of Hunter x Hunter, Nen is really used all the way through at the things they say it does is what it does the entire series through.
Yeah,
well,
no, it doesn't change. There's no rules change with Nen. And there's no secret 6-path Sage Mode chakra event with Nen. It's just, like, the closest thing you have to it is Gon's transformation thing.
Yeah.
But the restriction was he didn't care what happened to... He gave up his own potential.
Yeah.
To gain that energy.
Do you choose the restrictions placed on your Nen?
You do. You get to pick that. And you can change it. But once you place the restriction on a specific technique, that restriction remains on the technique. You can create a new technique that doesn't have that restriction, but it won't be as powerful.
Right. So, while your Hatsu controls like the domain you have, you control the restrictions on your specific techniques within that Hatsu.
Yes.
Okay.
That's really kind of cool.
Yeah, Nen is awesome. Nen is like actually my favorite anime power system.
Well, I wonder what Cody's going to vote for.
I'm voting for Nen. That wasn't obvious by how much I've talked about it.
How about we move on to the votes? Because we have talked.
Let's go ahead and move on to the vote. We have talked for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so first off, Cody, yours is pretty apparent with Nen.
Mine's Nen.
I almost got... I was very close to getting swayed by you, Cody. In fact, I was thinking about it, but the more I think about it, the one thing I really like about chakra is not just, like, the techniques that are used. Well, it's the techniques that are used, but it's also the way that you can manipulate the chakra into whatever you really want. Because, like, say Naruto has his Rasengan, he can turn it into a Rasen Shuriken.
But he can't turn it into an Earth-based one because he didn't have Earth release.
Exactly. That's the...
So it's not anything.
But there are still limitations. But at the same time, you kind of think about, like, even the different ways you can just use chakra in general. Where it's like Sasuke literally used nature to his advantage because he shoots fire up into the sky to make it cloudy, get the humidity up and everything. And then he uses the thunderstorm that's based off of that and just uses a tiny little bit of chakra, because he didn't have much at that time, just to control the lightning bolt to smash into Itachi. Like, you can do stuff like that all the time with chakra, however you want to use it, and that's why I'm going to vote chakra, because it's just a lot more versatile, I think.
I really like the concept of chakra, but the way the show uses it makes no sense. Shooting a fireball into the air does not create a storm cloud, and it never will. That's not possible. Physics doesn't work like that. And even within the show, they throw chakra out the window during the, last, I guess, 10 arcs. There are like 40 arcs in Naruto, the last fourth of the series. And so I like the concept of chakra if they had really stuck with it, but I really like that Hunter x Hunter uses Nen really effectively, and it's still a really cool system, so I'm going to vote Nen.
Okay. All right. Nen takes a close win in that round, and then
you guys just lost tons of subscribers.
Oh, that's fine. We only have like 5.
Yeah, don't worry. You only lost me, the other one I have, me, and then like 2
D,
others. Yeah, D.
and all the other Narutards.
Yeah,
that
so
are on here.
we're
Watch
now,
Hunter x Hunter.
We're at 0
Shut your whore
subscribers
mouth.
now,
Shut your pleb mouth and watch Hunter x Hunter. The last round, we have Life Fiber from Kill la Kill versus the Magic System from Fairy Tail.
I don't think this fight is fair.
I don't either.
I don't either.
Because, like, the Life Fiber system is really cool. And basically, it's sentient clothing that can take over your body. That's pretty much what it is, right?
Well, it's the fibers that get sewn into the clothing that make them sentient.
That's fair, yeah.
So, basically, from what I understand with Kill la Kill, is life fibers are actually like an alien-type being that aren't like real fibers. Like, if you think about fabric, they're not real fabric, but what they are they take the form of clothes when you sew a bunch of them together. And based on the amount of light fibers that are in a certain amount of clothing, that's how powerful the clothing can be. So that's how you get like the 2-star, the 3-star, 4-star Goku uniforms, is by sewing more light fibers into a certain amount of clothing. And then some of them can take on, personalities and stuff like that. And those are the beings that are like 100% life fiber.
Mm-hmm.
And as you can tell, they are the strongest. So,
yeah.
But that's basically all life fibers have to offer. Meanwhile, we have Fairy Tail.
I think has probably the best pure magic system, like, that I've ever seen.
Agreed.
It's great. Like, it's just everything's magic.
I really like life fibers conceptually in that you build your costume to whatever power set you want. And you have to physically be able to withstand interacting with them, physically and mentally, so a stronger person can wear a higher percentage life fiber costume. But I don't think life fibers stand up to Fairy Tail's really open-ended magic system, where it's basically just D&D rules. There are lots of spells, everyone is specialized in a school of magic, and they have spells they use.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you just have like an MP gauge. And
they have magical power, and when they're out of magical power, they can't cast spells.
But they don't die.
No,
they just can't cast spells.
Yeah, they'll die if they're in a battle, but
I mean,
good for you.
Debatable. It might be able to use a sword. Urza uses a sword.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of them have, some have physical tools. Mist has a lot of physical stabs.
Yeah.
But
Lucy.
I like that the
also
the
avoid Fairy Tail spoilers, Blake.
Trust me, I'm not gonna say nothing.
Because, like, he's not that far.
You can see the character. You know he has stabs.
Okay.
Huh?
Let's say you can see the character. You know that he has stabs. It's not.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. No, I meant specifically for you, because you haven't
Okay, I didn't know he
watched all of
wasn't
Fairy
that
Tail.
far.
Yeah, no, he hasn't watched all of Fairy Tail.
Okay.
He's,
I will not say
Yeah.
most things.
I'm
Okay.
halfway through the Terra Island arc, and I'm living every minute.
Okay, now I know where you're at.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
he's about to be, like, my favorite fight in the whole series.
Yeah.
Almost.
Okay, so, I
Magic.
think votes are
I
easy.
vote for Magic.
I really like the open-ended magic system, and I like that everyone has their own style, so all of the characters can be unique. I'm gonna go Magic.
I'm voting Light Fighters.
Okay.
My vote is irrelevant. Let's go.
Moving on to the quarterfinals, we have Ki from Dragon Ball versus Devil Fruits from One Piece.
This seems more like a finals matchup if you really look at it, but, I mean, at least to, like, you know, all the people that are just like, oh, shonen anime fighting, yeah. It
Honestly?
seems like it, but, you know...
Like, looking at the rest of the bracket, Devil Fruits isn't holding up to me. Like, it's unique.
No, it doesn't hold up to Ki,
It has
I don't
unique
think.
powers. I don't even... Out of the two, I think Ki is more well-rounded and has more, for one, in real life grounding, because it's based in Buddhist practices. It's actually based in, like, Chi, which is, like, your spiritual essence and, like, what you are, and it's part of your being. And you can channel that part of your being to use it as a weapon, which is something that monks actually practice in the real world.
Exactly.
And it's that's what makes it such a balanced system in Dragon Ball. Granted...
Now, this is something I wanted to ask, Ki related.
Mhm.
What does transformations actually do for Ki?
Well, listen. Ki is the power system,
Yeah.
and it's how they generate attacks and things like that. Basically, most transformations are Ki multipliers, is how it works. For example, the original Super Saiyan transformation on Namek is a 50 times Ki multiplier.
Okay.
Power levels are basically Ki levels. It's how much Ki you have and how powerful you are.
So basically, you're multiplying your Ki by how far in the transformation you go.
Kaioken times 3 is a 3 times Ki multiplier.
Okay.
That's why when Goku uses Kaioken times 4 against Vegeta in the Saiyan arc, he is overpower Vegeta, even though he's way
Yeah.
more strong. He's way more powerful than him.
I have to give something to Devil Fruit for being much more thematic than Ki.
Yeah.
They have a place in the story, but I think they're not used as widely or as interestingly as Ki and Dragon Ball is. You just have to give it that.
They're much more easily obtainable in universe
That is true.
because there's only like 2 schools of Ki in all of Dragon Ball. There's the Crane School and the Turtle School.
It is kind of awkward that every character in Dragon Ball has been to one of the 2 places on Earth that can train Ki users.
That's why they're the characters. That's why they met.
That's fair.
I mean, that's how they met. That's how they became part of the story.
You gotta think about it, though, because, like, those are the only 2 places on Earth.
Yeah.
Because, like, the Saiyans, I mean, how did they do it?
I mean, they couldn't sense energy.
That's true, they couldn't sense
They
energy.
didn't learn how to use Ki. They were just powerful.
They just used it.
They just used it. They
Okay.
didn't know what it was called. They didn't know the practices. They didn't know how to sense it. They didn't know any of that stuff. They didn't know any of the
Okay.
basics. They just, like, brute forced their way into shooting energy beams.
That is the same way, if you really
That is
think
the
about
same
it.
way.
Okay, I don't really have anything else to say on the matter.
I think Devil Fruits are really cool. I think they're a well-rounded power in story,
universe.
in universe. Especially because you can unlock your Devil Fruit, and so you get like even more powers out of your Devil Fruit once you go on and you master it. But I have to vote for Ki. I just think it's a more well-rounded power system, and I think it's used better in Dragon Ball than what Devil Fruits are in One Piece.
Okay. What about you, Lance?
While I disagree that Ki is used better, I think in the story element, Devil Fruit is used much better. I think Ki is more grounded and more well-rounded, and it's used by more characters, so I prefer the Ki system.
Okay. Again, Ki is a lot like, kind of like Chakra, in a sense that,
They're both based on the same practices.
well, also in the sense that, like, story-wise, Goku and Vegeta and all of them are kind of gotten to a power level where Ki has become a little bit irrelevant. Like,
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah,
at least the Saiyans.
because they don't even use real Ki anymore. They use God Ki now.
Yeah, now they use God Ki. And now, and along
But they
with
still
that,
talk
it's
about
just
Ki,
like,
and they still They still mention ki. They still run out of ki. Like Vegeta runs out of ki in the Tournament of Power.
Yeah, but
so does Goku, and that's why he slips into Master Ultra Instinct.
I mean, the thing about that is, like, I like how they did that because I know it's a little bit off tangent, but him running out of ki, like, you show that's still possible. But for Goku and like Vegeta, they can only run out of ki in situations like that. Like, they're not gonna run out of ki fighting
They fought
Pilaf.
for 47 minutes straight.
Yeah.
Going full out,
like
universe-destroying powers for 47 minutes straight.
Yeah, they're not gonna be fighting some villain on Earth and run out of ki. That's probably not gonna happen anymore.
No.
They just got way too much.
They're gods.
Either way, I'm still voting ki.
Yeah.
Because it's ki.
My thing is, if you look into, like, early Dragon Ball, into Dragon Ball Z, ki is such a well-defined system.
Exactly.
It's perfectly well-defined. I think it does great leaps and bounds in the story, and especially early Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. Once they go into space, things get a little wonky, but
as things tend to do when you go into space.
I feel like it stops.
Once it stops being a kung fu series and starts becoming a sci-fi series.
Well, I feel like Ki still was a little bit relevant, like with Frieza. I feel like it became a little bit irrelevant after Cell.
The Buu arc made no sense.
Well, yeah,
I'm not going to defend
that. That's when I feel like they got to a power level where it's just like they're not going to run out of ki fighting like a 5-minute battle.
No.
Like, that's the point where I think it hit that.
I mean, they do against Kid Buu at the end.
That is true.
And then Goku has to rest and like charge the Spirit Bomb as Vegeta gets the shit kicked out of him for 3 minutes.
But that's how they still keep it relevant and not so nice.
Yeah.
Either way,
Ki wins. It's moving on to the next round. Speaking of the next round, we have Stan powers from JoJo's versus Geass powers from Code Geass.
I hate you.
I really don't think that this is a fair bracket in that the two series are so drastically different in the stories they're trying to tell.
They are. They're very different in the stories they are trying to tell.
I want to say one thing, but I know I probably won't sway anybody, and it doesn't really even sway the vote. But one thing about Stans against Geass is Geass was kind of there from the beginning. And, like...
That's fair. Stans really aren't a thing in the first season.
Stans aren't really a thing until what?
Part 2.
Stardust Crusaders?
Part 2. That's not Stardust Crusaders. Stardust Crusaders Part 3. Stan powers emerge in Part 2.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, they appear in Part 2. They become like the main fighting force in Part 3 in Stardust Crusaders, and then from there you go into Diamond is Unbreakable, which fucking everywhere.
Yeah.
I think that's where they have the street that's a devil. That's a Stan power.
Yeah. I feel like Code Geass is, because it's even in the name, the series is centered around the Geass and how one chooses to use that. Whereas Stan powers are thrown into JoJo's because they make the characters cool, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't think the two powers are, like, relatable in their effectiveness within their own series.
Agreed.
I mean, that's fair. I mean,
Stans are a really big thing in JoJo.
But you have to think, what's a better power system? Because we're not just talking about how well the power is used in universe.
Yeah, we are.
We're also talking about
system.
What is better as a system in general. And yes, Geass is more fleshed out in universe, and it is more integral to the plot. But you also have Stan powers, which are just a ridiculous, crazy amount of things, and it's just really I enjoy them a lot, and so
I enjoy Stan powers. They're really cool.
They're the memes of anime, and so
I think they're anime memes. They're power memes, but I think that if I had to choose which system is better, Geass's really lend themselves to exploring who a character is, and every character has their own personal one because they each have their own personal idea of what the power of a king is. What the ultimate power should be. I think that as a system for like characters and for world building and for interesting powers, I really think Geass's are super fleshed out.
Okay.
All right. Do you want to go ahead and go to votes? Are you good to go to votes?
I'm good to go to votes.
Anybody?
I'll throw it out there. It's obvious. I'm voting for Geass.
Okay. Because of how I enjoy how the world revolves around it and how strategically you have to think about using it, I'm voting for Geass.
Well, I'm voting for Stan powers because memes be damned.
We're also losing all of our subscribers now again.
Again, as JoJo's loses in the
there's nothing wrong with stands. They're really cool and
They
fun.
are.
But like if I was picking a power system for like a game or for a story, Gyasas are just so character-definingly cool.
I don't know. If we're picking a power system for a game, I'd want a game based around stands.
Well, you
We're
can
gonna
play
make a
that
game around
because there is a
stands.
JoJo
Stands
fighting
can
game
be
come out.
There is, and I'm so excited.
I might actually look into that now.
Lance, have you watched JoJo's at all?
Yeah, I've watched a good chunk of it.
Okay. I had this argument with Lance like the first couple. I wouldn't have with Lance, with Blake, for the first couple weeks, and I've gotten him to watch JoJo's now.
Yeah, I'm like halfway through Stardust, so
I pick up, JoJo's every now and again whenever I get the need for a really, like,
Wacky fun time.
snack foody, wacky anime. Yeah.
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 Because that's what JoJo's is. It's like, it's junk food. It's anime junk food,
It is.
and it's the best kind.
It's like Kill la Kill, but with absolutely no restraint.
No restraint, none at all.
Okay.
All right. So next round we have Alchemy versus Reiki from Yu Yu Hakusho.
If you were building like a role-playing game, Alchemy is the perfect system because it's unbreakable by definition.
Like, I don't know. I feel like Alchemy is like, as you said, it would be one of like the best systems to use in like a tabletop game or anything, and it's really like not got too many flaws in the Brotherhood universe.
No, it doesn't. Like, it's very hard to break as a system. I don't think you can because it's equivalent exchange. It's a law.
By definition, it has to be balanced. You have to have whatever you need to put in to get whatever you want to get out.
Yeah.
However, there is the Philosopher's Stone thing about it, which kind of just makes you into an overpowered, I can do whatever I want type of person.
Well, yeah, but that's the anime MacGuffin, and every anime has an anime MacGuffin.
Yeah,
Every anime has a muffin button.
that is the truth.
You can't escape it, especially in shonen. It's just you can't escape the muffin button. It's gonna be there.
I'm just gonna say it straight out. I'm going to be voting for Alchemy just because of the versatility that it gives you.
I'm
when
gonna
fighting.
give my piece to defend Reiki. Spiritual energy is such a cool concept, and I think it would also be a really good system as to make a role playing game around, because it almost works like mana. Almost, it's very similar to mana in like a role playing game.
It's a no rules mana. It is you have this much energy, shape it however you can shape it.
Yeah, and shape it to your will and use it as a tool. And I find that really interesting. I think that's a really cool way to develop a power system.
Agreed.
And you've got to give Yu Yu Hakusho credit because it's a very early anime
It is.
that had a very genre-defining power system.
Yeah, Bleach
Chakra
just straight up
exists
stole it, pretty
because
much.
Reiki existed.
Yeah, so does spiritual pressure. Well, actually, they probably both exist because of ki.
Well, okay.
If we're gonna be real here.
Yeah, kind of. But
I think chakra more specifically exists because of Nen. But we'll get into that when we have that discussion. I vote for Alchemy.
I vote for Alchemy.
Even when you give Reiki its credit, Alchemy is such a beautiful system.
It is. It's almost flawless. I say almost flawless because I don't want to be 100%. This is a flawless system.
Yeah.
Right, but I agree, but it's almost flawless.
Mm-hmm. All right, going into round 4, we have Nen, another almost flawless system in my opinion, versus the magic from Fairy Tail, another not quite as close to flawless system.
The issue with this fight is that these two are on opposite sides of the board. Nen is a very well-defined system where characters literally make the rules so that their powers become better, and magic is the loosest system for everyone to have a cool way to do magic.
It's friendship magic.
That is
I
the
don't think
truth.
it's as friendship magic as some other shows. Like, you get a power boost from emotions, but pretty much everyone does in that universe, so...
Yeah, you're not far enough to see the friendship magic to its fullest extent.
Yeah.
Its friendship
No,
magic
that's
kicks in
entirely
bad.
fair.
Real bad.
I think there's literally a couple of spells that are literally just friendship magic.
My favorite fight in the whole series is just friendship magic.
I know that all of the fairy spells rely on the bond between the fairy tale members.
They do. All the fairy spells.
Like they go very
like fairy
emotion
law and
heavily, very glitter.
Fairy glitter. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I really like Fairy Tail's magic system, just because there's not only just
It's kind of confusing though.
it's a bit confusing, but it really gets confusing when you get to the Dragon Slayers.
Yes, it gets really confusing when you get to the Dragon
Fairy
Slayers.
Tail's magic system gets weird when they start ranking the powers. Because in the beginning, it's really simple. Everyone has mana, magical power. And then you have people who have powers within them and people who use tools.
Yeah.
But then you start introducing the Dragon Slayer's power is worse than a God Slayer's power, but why? They suddenly become ranked.
But it's also not.
Right. They're superficially ranked, though.
They're superficially ranked. They are.
But then it gets even more confusing because then you get the different. I don't want
to say it. Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to say. You know exactly what I want to say.
Yeah.
But then you also get
you get different combinations of different kinds of things that confuse it even more.
Things like the unison raids, where you take two people's entirely unique magics and you combine them into an entirely unique third type of magic.
Yeah, that's where it gets.
That's super cool. That is super cool.
But then also, I don't know. I believe Loxus has already happened.
Yeah, the versus Fairy Tail arc.
So
the fake Dragon Slayers.
Yeah,
the ones that had the implants
that's where
put
it gets
into them.
even more.
That's
like,
even more
you put
confusing.
the crystals in you, and now you're a Dragon Slayer. I'm like, what?
What's an orb, isn't it?
No,
Right,
it's a crystal.
It's a crystal?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lacrima.
It's a lacrima.
What I imagine is that you simply learn your particular type of magic, but that implies that Dragon Slayer magic is special in a way that other magics aren't.
Well, in a way, it kind of is, because like if you actually look through the story, all the actual Dragon Slayers
were taught by dragons.
Yeah, they learned their magic from dragons.
But they were taught, so
yeah.
I don't know why a lightning dragon lacrima would give you lightning dragon magic. You would still have
because spoilers, Lance.
Because spoilers. No,
that's
but
fair. I would really like to not be spoiled on this particular one.
That's why we're not. Yeah. That's why we're
No,
dancing around the bush.
I actually remembered something that you
Rick.
don't even know that I wanted to say, but I can't, and I hurt.
Oh.
Which
Tell
makes
me
it
after
a bit
we
more
get Lance
bullshit.
off the call later.
It's a bit. It just makes everything a bit more bullshit in the story wise. Not necessarily the powers, but just everything.
You're talking about the plan?
No, I'm talking about just like the origins.
Oh yeah. No, I know.
Okay,
I am manga spoiled. There's not.
Okay, so yeah, the origins of this Dragon Slayer. That's where it gets so
wacky.
confusing.
It gets wacky. It's really cool.
Even if you the Dragon Slayers are weird, the base system itself is really loose and flavorful and tied to a really cool art style.
You want to know what the quirks I have with it?
What?
Why are there only 12 Celestial Gate keys?
Because there are only 12.
And how does Lucy have 10?
Because she's a main character.
Yeah. Okay, the Lucy having 10 is plot armor.
But I want to say, like, the other ones seem actually useless. The ones that aren't.
Yeah,
like you have.
Because the ones that Lucy has are shit. There are silver keys that aren't useless.
That is true. There are silver keys that are not useless.
They're just less useless.
Yes.
They are like in between useless and celestial.
Yeah.
Well, like the one wizard Angel, she has the one silver celestial key that turns into a lightning gun, which is super useful.
That is super cool.
Yeah,
yes.
Like they have
there
more keys. It's just
suck.
the good ones.
But like, it doesn't get explored, which raises confusing questions. Like, why do other people even study this magic?
Or like,
if they can't get the keys.
Or like, why is one of the spirits that can be summoned from a keys from a different manga? But
that's another very good question.
Let's not talk about that.
Let's not.
From what I understand, the silver keys are not unique. And there are many silver keys. Like there are many Nicholas, the tiny dog spirit. There are many of them.
Yeah, like they're mass produced.
Yes.
So there are lots of celestial wizards that only have silver keys because some silver keys don't suck. Those ones are just expensive, and Lucy is a cheap bitch.
That's fair.
Plus, when you have 10 golden keys, why would you buy expensive silver keys?
It's like a silver key is compared to the Dark Magician in the Yu-Gi-Oh universe, whereas
she got 10 Dark Magicians.
Yeah.
See my point?
No, but no. The silver keys are the Dark Magician.
Oh, okay.
Meanwhile, like one of the celestial keys is like Slifer, the Sky Dragon. There's only one.
I mean, In universe for you. Yeah, no, I understand where you're coming from.
In universe, not
I just
IRL.
am confused by the system in general.
I agree.
Like,
it is confusing.
Like, if I were picking up what type of magic I would want to learn, and knowing that, yeah, these super awesome keys, but, like, you gotta find them and steal them.
Actually, you can't steal them. The owner has to give it to you or die, because they have a contract with the spirit.
Yeah, you're right, you have to murder them. You have to murder them. I forgot. You have to find them and murder them.
Murdering does work.
Even if you pick apart like the main character's plot armor magics, like Celestial magic and Dragon Slayer magic, there are still all of the other types of magic that are really cool and
they are.
grounded.
Yeah. And the fact that we can talk about the system this much does lend to how versatile it is as a system.
Yeah. Exactly. Meanwhile, we have Nen, which we should harp on a little bit.
Which I could talk about this long.
Yeah. I mean, Nen is actually a really good system.
I'm really into Nen, personally. I think it's just... Because you can learn other kinds of Nen. They're just harder for you to master. And then you have Shu, which allows you to transfer your Nen into an object. So, like, for an example, Gon uses a fishing pole, which is not a very, like, generic weapon someone would use. But when it's enhanced with Nen, it works just as much as you, it hits just as hard as you do. And so being able to use, like, a fishing pole to, like, cast a lure into somebody's face and hit them just as hard as you do with a punch is pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's really neat.
Or to be able to use it in bullets in a gun. Like, it's really just interesting. And then you have N, which is ultra high performance radar, which basically you make like you extend your aura out in a sphere around you, and it allows you to sense other auras within the sphere. And then you have Ko, which is focusing all of your Nen on one point. And so you have so many different ways. You also have Ken, which is to where you maintain a state of Ren over your entire body. So basically, you amp up your energy everywhere all at once, and that helps make like a shield to protect you from blows. And then even then, you can combine those further to get even more different kinds of Nen as you go along. So I think we need to vote because we've been talking about this for a while.
This one's been a long one.
I think it's because they're so very different.
They are, and they're so very complex.
Very true.
I'm going to vote for Nen because it's well balanced, it's well defined, and the intricacies within it are almost like infinite. There's so many different ways you could combine Nen, especially with Hatsu.
I'm gonna vote for Magic just because I really do like the Magic system that they use, and even though it can be a little bit complicated, I still think they did a really good job of making that universe around it.
I don't like being the tiebreaker. I've seen about as much of each series, and I haven't completed either of them, so I'm not a master for this vote. I really think I'm going to vote for Nen as a system, because it's crafted in a very specific way, even though I think I would prefer like Magic from Fairy Tail in that it's loose, it's not the better system.
Yeah, it's not what Magic we'd prefer to have in real life. That could be a different episode.
Yeah.
Watch out for that in the future. But this is is best used in anime. So.
I think because Nen has this compounding stacking effect, the rules are very clear, and the characters can put limits on themselves, which is a really unique aspect. I think Nen is the better system.
Okay.
All right. Moving on to the semifinals, we have Ki versus Gias in the first round. This feels like a mismatch, personally.
I think a lot of these are starting to feel like mismatches because they're converging.
Mm-hmm.
But it really is because I feel like Gias is way more of a strategy-based kind of power. Like, Ki is strategy-based to a point, especially in the early Dragon Ball.
I mean, you can use it strategy-wise.
Well, you can, especially
but when you can destroy the entire universe, there's no point in hiding your power level from the guy.
Yeah.
Right.
But, like what I was thinking, because in a fight, like in, say, Dragon Ball, you actually have to, like, monitor your ki usage, make sure you don't use too much, make sure stuff doesn't happen. With Gias, it's more of just, like, take Lelouch for an example. As I said, one of his parts of his Gias powers, he can only use it on a specific person once. So he has to pick the perfect time to use it on just the right person to do exactly what he wants, and he has to remember, I used it on this person, I can't do that again.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody else with Gias has their own rules and stipulations, so They all have to strategize around that sort of thing. However, Ki is Ki.
It's like the quintessential anime power system.
Yeah.
It's
as classic as Ki is, if you're talking about which system is better crafted, the Ki is very general and gets lost as the series goes on, whereas Gios is very specific and allows characters to better themselves, like narratively, by learning about and using their one specific trick in a variety of ways.
That is the truth.
Yeah, no, it's I don't know. Like, it's tough. It's really tough at this point.
I don't know if going into detail about these systems again is going to help you make a decision about them.
No, I don't think it will.
I don't think it would with these because they're a bit more...
Because we've gone into detail about both of these systems.
Right.
Everybody knows what Ki is. I think we've all gotten a pretty firm grasp on how the Gios system works now. Let's just go to votes.
Yeah, I think we have to.
Okay. I don't want to vote first, honestly.
I'm going to go ahead and vote first. As classic as Ki is, the Gios system is the better system for both characters and story.
I can agree with that. I can agree that it is the better system for characters and story. And because of that, I am going to vote for it. I am going to vote for Gios.
Wow, okay.
And murder my child.
I thought that I was going to have to be the tiebreaker and vote for Gios, but I guess Gios sweeps.
No, look, I love Dragon Ball, but I'm not going to defend my garbage like that.
I mean, again, this isn't about the anime, this is about the system, so...
Yeah,
all in all,
exactly.
Gios is the better system.
And I think Gios is a better system. All
right, if it was about the anime, there's no way that Reiki would have... Although I guess Reiki was up against Full Metal Alchemist, so...
Yeah.
That's not a good example.
Speaking of Full Metal Alchemist.
Speaking of near-perfect systems, we have Alchemy versus Nen.
I've said my entire piece about the near-perfect system that is Alchemy.
And I've said my entire piece about the near-perfect system that is Nen.
Right.
Lance, Blake, do you have anything to add to this?
Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is a really fucking good anime. That's all I'm gonna put into this.
I mean, so is Hunter x Hunter.
So is Hunter x Hunter.
Hunter x Hunter, I will give it its due.
I put them on the same level.
I will give it its due. However, I like Alchemy a bit more, honestly. I like what you're able to do with Alchemy. I like
what you're able to do with Nen.
Well, I like say one of the fights that really makes it apparent like how good Alchemy is. Now, in retrospect, this is with a Philosopher's Stone, so this is kind of a MacGuffin type thing. But Alphonse versus Pride, where Pride is just cutting up Alphonse's body like nobody's business, and he's just regrowing his limbs.
Yeah.
To fight, that was just like one of the best fight scenes, I think, in that entire anime. And then they also have the father fight, where you really get the equivalent exchange aspect of it, because Alphonse gives up his entire life to give Edward back his arm.
Yeah.
And that really, it shows that the whole equivalent exchange thing encompasses throughout the entire series, and it just puts a really good nail in the coffin for it for me.
I'd hate to beat a dead horse.
No, you don't.
But I'm going to bring up the Gon Pito fight once again as the perfect representation of the Nen system.
Yeah.
The deadest horse, but also the most beautiful.
It's a unicorn. I'm going to beat it to death. You have the perfect explanation of the pinnacle of what Nen can be used for, and all of the drawbacks that come with it.
Exactly.
Because Nen also works on a similar premise as far as equivalent exchange. It's not a law, but it works on a similar premise. There are rules that you put down, and you cannot break those rules. Mm-hmm. And those rules enforce your powers, and those rules help your powers grow stronger. And if you need to sacrifice your potential and possibly your life for the power that you need, then you can.
And the one thing that one-ups it on Alchemy is, or at least the anime version of Alchemy, is there's not a MacGuffin that can just...
There is no MacGuffin. There is no MacGuffin in Hunter x Hunter.
Yeah.
There is no Hunter x Hunter MacGuffin. There is no muffin button.
I think that the reason I prefer Alchemy is the exact opposite reason. It's that no one is more powerful when two alchemists fight. It's whichever alchemist has the quickest wit and the most, training and knowledge of how to use their skill. But two alchemists are of equal power. Alchemy is a thing you do. It's not, you can't rank them, there's no power levels. It's just how you use this one force of nature.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that it gives everyone this even slate.
I think Nen is similar to that. It doesn't work in the same way power levels work in like Dragon Ball or Naruto or things like that. Because of the restriction system, your powers, there are a million different factors as to who can win a fight when it comes to Nen. For one thing, if you don't know what your enemy's Hatsu is, that can really fuck you over. And if your enemy doesn't know what your Hatsu is, or your enemy doesn't know how you specialize or anything like that, then that gives you an advantage. Being able to know and study your enemy is a lot of what goes into winning a fight in Hunter x Hunter.
Although that can still be said for the same as in Full Metal Alchemist. You don't know exactly what kind of alchemy somebody does, so it could throw you off your entire game.
That's fair.
And the thing is about Full Metal Alchemist and just alchemy in general, is these fights don't just come down to, because they have martial arts included in all of this. So, you can go out and, you can hide your alchemy for so long, just if you're strong enough, just to, go through a fight. And then, if you have to pull out your secret move or whatever, it could throw somebody entirely off their game, just based off of whatever alchemy you have.
I also like that there's no mana. You can use alchemy as many times per day as you want for as long as you want.
As long as you have the materials, you can do whatever you want.
So, fights really come down to who is the better alchemist and fighter, not who has the most energy or who has the most training or whose body is stronger. So, every fight ends up being a fair one.
Okay, yeah. I do agree with that.
I can see where you're coming from. I don't personally like that as much in the power system. The fact that, you say that all the power levels are equal, but they're not.
Well, of course, because you have,
It's a basic alchemist isn't going to be able to kill Father.
Well, then it comes down to your proficiency with the circle you're using, so how fast you can pull it off, and which circles you carry with you on your clothing or carved into your skin, or what you choose to have access to right now.
It's more of a knowledge-based thing than a physical prowess-based thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, it's still who's better than who, but it's who's better than who on a different axis.
Yeah, that I can agree with that.
It's like a game of chess almost.
If you think about Mustang could beat almost anybody just because he's really good at using his flame out.
He's really proficient with it,
and also his name's Mustang.
He can almost always use it.
Yeah.
The only time where he can't is when it's raining or when, he's in a place where there's a lot of water present.
Yeah.
But still, as I was saying before, with Mustang, the versatility with him even is incredible because, sure, he only has fire and stuff, but he even gets past, his weaknesses of water, in a sense, when his glove gets drenched when he's fighting Lust. And so what does he do? He takes off the glove, he carves the symbol into his hand, and then he can use alchemy off of it.
And it whips that ass.
I
love that fight.
One of the best fights. So, okay. I feel like I've seen both sides of the argument.
And I feel like I'm pretty set in my ways, and I feel like Lance is pretty set in his ways, as far as our opinions on it.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I really like Nen, and I wish it wasn't up against alchemy, but...
So we've got an alchemy, and we've got a Nen.
I vote for Nen.
Lance?
I obviously vote for alchemy.
I've seen both sides of the argument. They're both extremely, extremely good power systems.
I like that they're both specific power systems, too.
I feel like this should have been the finals.
I feel like this could have been a finals. In terms of which one I think is the better system, I'm giving it to alchemy.
Okay. I'll hold that L, and we will go on to the finals, where Gias will fight against alchemy.
Gias versus alchemy.
And I don't think this is a fight anymore.
I don't think it will be a fight at whoever won this.
I think that was decided in the last round, personally.
I think it's a really tough decision, for me personally, because both of the systems are really good, and so you have to weigh which one is better for the characters and for the story, and which system allows characters and the story to progress in a better way.
I think alchemy.
I feel like alchemy does that. Like Gios.
Look, don't get me wrong. Gios is an amazing system. For one, there's not that many Gios users. It is very limited. As a power system, it is very limited. It's not widespread. Alchemy is much more accessible in the fact that it can be taught.
I also like that the power you get is very specific. And like alchemy, you can use the power you have an unlimited number of times, so it comes down to who can use the power they have in the most advantageous ways.
Mm-hmm. Well, even then, like, you also have to think, while it can be used limitlessly, Gios still kind of does have its stipulations. If you think about when Lelouch was talking to Euphemia and he was like hiding his Gios, he had used Gios so much that when he started talking to her, he developed a Gios in his second eye and accidentally caused a bunch more problems that could have just been avoided because of the overusage of his Gios. So it does have a bit more of a stipulation to it. But of course, he also did not know about that stipulation, so there's nothing he could really do about it, but it's still there.
I personally think alchemy is near perfect. Like, I don't think there's there's not a lot of criticisms to the system as a whole.
I absolutely can't vote against alchemy. I'm just giving Gios its fair due as a really good story system.
Absolutely. Gios is
I agree.
amazing.
Gios is a great story system.
But alchemy, because it's so simple, as you need a circle, you need equivalent exchange, and your proficiency with that circle is how fast you can do it. Go for it. So you get this really light system that manages to do a lot of things that always feels fair.
And the entire time, when we've been talking about this, I've always went back to one point, with Gios at least. Strategy. Coming up with the right moves. It's like a chess game. The thing is, alchemy kind of has that same thing.
For sure.
Edward goes up to a wall. Okay, what thing can he make at this specific situation to actually aid him in this fight with this wall? He can make whatever he wants. He can make a spear, sword, like just a giant boulder to chuck at somebody. Armstrong, he can just pull up a giant boulder in the air, start punching it, start pulling out many faces of him in the stone, fucking bullets to hit his opponent. The versatility is just way too good with alchemy.
And because of that, I'm going to vote for alchemy.
I'm also voting for alchemy.
Alchemy sweeps.
I mean, it didn't sweep the whole bracket.
Did not sweep the whole bracket, but
it did sweep the finals. And that does it for today's episode. Alchemy is hereby crowned the best power system in anime. Thank you for watching and listening to Your Waifu Is Trash. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the content, and tell us down below what your favorite power system in anime is. Catch you guys later.